Welcome, fellow travelers, to one of Earth's most extraordinary corners, a land where ancient castles pierce misty skies, where bagpipes echo through cobblestone streets, and where every hill and valley whispers tales of warriors, poets, and kings. Today, we're embarking on an unforgettable journey through Scotland's most captivating cities: Edinburgh, Inverness, Glasgow, Stirling, Aberdeen, and Dundee. These aren't just destinations on a map, they're living, breathing chronicles of human ambition, creativity, and resilience. These 6 cities represent more than tourist attractions. They're masterclasses in how geography shapes destiny, how history forges identity, and how culture transcends time. Whether you're fascinated by medieval fortresses, intrigued by Scotland's complex relationship with England, captivated by the birthplace of golf, or simply drawn to landscapes that seem pulled from fantasy novels, this journey will transform how you see not just Scotland, but the very nature of what makes a place unforgettable. But here's a question I want you to ponder as we explore together. How can cities that have endured invasions, reformation, industrial collapse, and countless hardships not only survive but thrive, reinventing themselves while honoring their past? Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell, because the stories we're about to uncover are ones you'll want to share with everyone you know. Now, let's step back in time and discover Scotland's magnificent cities. Edinburgh. Perched on 7 hills along the southern shore of the Firth of Forth, Scotland's capital city commands attention from every angle. At its heart rises the Castle Rock, an ancient volcanic plug that has been fortified for over 3,000 years, creating one of the most recognizable skylines in the world. The old town cascades down the spine of a ridge from Edinburgh Castle eastward to Holyrood Palace, forming what locals call the Royal Mile, though it's actually slightly longer than a mile. This medieval heart of the city clings to its rocky perch, a maze of narrow wynds, alleyways, and towering tenements that once housed both wealthy merchants and the poorest workers in astonishing vertical neighborhoods. To the north lies the new town, though new is relative. This Georgian masterpiece was laid out in the 1760s and represents one of Europe's finest examples of planned urban development. Between these two worlds runs Prince's Street Gardens, a green valley that was once the Nor Loch, a defensive body of water that protected the castle's northern flank. Archaeological evidence suggests the Castle Rock has been occupied since at least the Bronze Age, around 850 BC. The city's name likely derives from Dún Eidan, meaning Eidean's fort in Scottish Gaelic, though English-speaking settlers later transformed it into Edinburgh. During the Middle Ages, Edinburgh gradually emerged as Scotland's principal borough, and by the 15th century, it was firmly established as the nation's capital. The city witnessed some of Scotland's most dramatic moments. Mary, Queen of Scots, held court at Holyrood Palace in the turbulent 1560s before her eventual downfall. The 1707 Acts of Union that merged Scottish and English parliaments were signed here, ending Scotland's independent legislature for nearly 3 centuries.
「」
But Edinburgh's greatest cultural triumph came during the 18th century Scottish Enlightenment, when this relatively small city produced an intellectual galaxy that rivaled anything Paris or London could offer. David Hume revolutionized philosophy, Adam Smith laid the foundations of modern economics, James Hutton pioneered geology, and Joseph Black advanced chemistry, all while living within a few streets of each other in Edinburgh. This concentration of genius earned Edinburgh the nickname Athens of the North, and the city embraced this identity so enthusiastically that it even built a replica of the Parthenon atop Colton Hill, though it was never completed, giving Edinburgh its own romantic ruin. Today, Edinburgh's economy thrives on an intriguing blend of finance, tourism, education, and government. As the seat of the Scottish Parliament, reconvened in 1999 after nearly 3 centuries, Edinburgh has reclaimed its role as a political powerhouse. The financial services sector employs tens of thousands, with major banks and insurance companies maintaining significant operations here. The city hosts over 4 million tourists annually, drawn by the spectacular Edinburgh Castle, the Palace of Holyrood House, and the city's famous festivals. Speaking of festivals, every August Edinburgh transforms into the world's largest arts festival, with the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, International Festival, Military Tattoo, and Book Festival turning the entire city into a performance space where street performers jostle with world-class theatre companies. The University of Edinburgh, founded in 1582, remains one of the world's leading research institutions, contributing billions to the local economy and maintaining Edinburgh's reputation as a centre of learning. The city's culture pulses with contradictions, simultaneously refined and rowdy, traditional and avant-garde, reserved and welcoming. Edinburgh's architecture tells its story in stone, literally. Most buildings in the Old Town and New Town are constructed from local sandstone that has weathered to a distinctive dark grey, giving the city a somewhat somber appearance that perfectly matches its Gothic reputation. Yet when sunlight breaks through Scotland's famous clouds, these same stones glow golden, and the city becomes almost impossibly beautiful. The preservation of this architectural heritage is extraordinary. Both the Old and New Towns are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, recognized for their outstanding universal value. Edinburgh, this is a city built on volcanic drama, shaped by centuries of conflict and creativity, where medieval and Georgian architecture create one of Europe's most stunning urban landscapes. It's a place where financial powerhouses operate from centuries-old buildings, where world-class universities continue an Enlightenment tradition of intellectual excellence, and where every August the population nearly doubles as artists and audiences descend for the planet's greatest cultural celebration. Edinburgh proves that a city can honor its past while embracing its future, that beauty and substance need not conflict, and that sometimes the most powerful stories are written in stone and preserved for generations to discover. Inverness. Inverness occupies a strategic location that has determined its entire history. Positioned at the northern end of the Great Glen, a dramatic geological fault line that slices diagonally across Scotland from coast to coast, Inverness sits at a natural crossroads where Highland routes converge. The city commands the approaches to the far north and west, making it militarily vital for anyone seeking to control the Highlands. The surrounding landscape couldn't be more different from Edinburgh's urban sophistication. Hills rise abruptly around the city, covered in heather and pine, while the Moray Firth opens northward toward the North Sea, its waters home to bottlenose dolphins that visitors can often spot from the shore. The geography here shaped a very different kind of settlement than Scotland's southern cities. Inverness remained relatively small and remote until modern transportation connected it to the rest of Britain, but its strategic importance meant it was always worth fighting over. The earliest recorded settlement dates back to the 6th century AD, when Saint Columba supposedly visited King Brideye of the Picts at a fortress near modern Inverness. By the medieval period, Inverness had become a royal borough, and a castle stood on the prominent hill overlooking the river, though the current pink sandstone castle dates only from the 19th century and serves as a courthouse rather than a defensive fortification. Inverness's history is inseparable from the turbulent story of the Scottish Highlands and the Gaelic-speaking clans who dominated this region for centuries. Unlike the Lowlands, which adopted feudalism and centralized royal control relatively early, the Highlands maintained a clan-based social structure where loyalty to the chief trumped loyalty to distant kings. This cultural divide between Highlands and Lowlands shaped Scottish history for centuries and frequently placed Inverness at the center of conflicts. The most famous of these conflicts was the Jacobite Rising of 1745, when Bonnie Prince Charlie led an attempt to reclaim the British throne for the Stuart dynasty. The campaign ended catastrophically at the Battle of Culloden in 1746, fought just 5 miles east of Inverness on bleak moorland that today serves as one of Scotland's most haunting historic sites. Yet paradoxically, the 19th century brought romantic rehabilitation of Highland culture, largely thanks to Queen Victoria's love affair with Scotland and her establishment of Balmoral Castle as a royal residence. Suddenly, tartan became fashionable, and Inverness found itself reinvented as a gateway to the romantic Highlands that English tourists now wish to explore. This transformation shaped Inverness's economy in ways that persist today. Tourism became and remains central to the city's prosperity. Inverness serves as the logical base for exploring the Highlands, providing hotels, restaurants, and services for visitors heading to Loch Ness, of monster fame, the Cairngorms National Park, the whiskey distilleries of Speyside, or the dramatic coastlines of the far north. But modern Inverness is far more than just a tourist hub. The city has developed into an important administrative and retail center for the entire Highland region, serving a vast but sparsely populated hinterland. Inverness has also attracted technology and renewable energy businesses, particularly those related to offshore wind and tidal power, the Highlands' natural resources providing 21st century economic opportunities. The culture of Inverness reflects its position between two worlds, the traditional Gaelic Highlands and modern Scotland. You'll hear more Gaelic spoken here than in any Scottish city except possibly Glasgow, which has a large Highland immigrant population. Traditional Highland gatherings, featuring bagpipe competitions, Highland dancing, and caber tossing, remain genuinely popular rather than mere tourist attractions. The city's connection to its landscape remains profound. Walk through Inverness, and you're never more than minutes from genuine wilderness. The River Ness, which flows through the city's heart, offers salmon fishing right in the urban core, a reminder that nature here is partner rather than background. The surrounding highlands visible from Inverness aren't just scenery. They're where many residents hunt, fish, hike, and maintain ties to traditional ways of living that have largely disappeared elsewhere in Britain. Inverness, this northernmost city, serves as the cultural and economic capital of the Scottish Highlands, a place where Gaelic traditions persist alongside modern development, where dramatic natural beauty shapes daily life, and where history, especially the tragic aftermath of Culloden, remains a living presence rather than a distant memory. Inverness demonstrates how strategic geography creates lasting importance, how cultural suppression can paradoxically strengthen identity, and how a relatively small city can serve as the beating heart of a vast region. It's a gateway not just to the Highlands' physical landscape, but to a different Scotland, older, wilder, and fiercely proud of its distinctiveness. Glasgow. Glasgow's name derives from the Gaelic Glashu, meaning dear green place, a reference to the fertile valley where the city arose. This geography proved both blessing and destiny. The River Clyde, though modest in its upper reaches, provided the key to Glasgow's transformation. In the city's early centuries, the river was too shallow to accommodate large ships, limiting Glasgow's trading potential. But in the 18th and 19th centuries, engineers embarked on one of the era's great civil engineering projects, deepening and widening the Clyde to allow ocean-going vessels to sail right to Glasgow's heart. This transformation unlocked Glasgow's geographic advantage. Positioned on Britain's west coast, it was perfectly situated for transatlantic trade at precisely the moment when the Americas were becoming economically central to the British Empire. The city's early history centered on religion and scholarship rather than commerce. St. Mungo, Glasgow's patron saint, supposedly founded a monastery here in the 6th century, and Glasgow Cathedral, one of Scotland's finest medieval buildings, still stands on this traditional site. The University of Glasgow, established in 1451, became one of Britain's ancient universities and contributed to Glasgow's medieval importance as an ecclesiastical and academic centre. But nothing in this modest past predicted the explosive growth that would transform Glasgow into Britain's second city. That transformation began with tobacco. In the 18th century, Glasgow's merchants built vast fortunes importing tobacco from Virginia and Maryland, then re-exporting it throughout Europe. The tobacco lords, as they became known, constructed magnificent townhouses and wielded enormous influence, laying the financial foundations for Glasgow's next phase of development. When American independence disrupted the tobacco trade, Glasgow's entrepreneurial spirit simply pivoted to new opportunities: cotton, then shipbuilding, then heavy engineering. The 19th century was Glasgow's golden age of industrial supremacy. The city became synonymous with shipbuilding. At its peak, Glasgow's Clyde shipyards produced 1/5 of the world's ships, including some of history's most famous vessels. Engineering works produced locomotives that ran on railways across the British Empire and beyond. Cotton mills employed tens of thousands. Heavy industries belched smoke and prosperity in equal measure. The population exploded from about 77,000 in 1801 to over 760,000 by 1901, making Glasgow one of Europe's great cities and giving it the nickname Second City of the Empire. The wealth generated by Glasgow's industries flowed disproportionately to owners and shareholders, creating stark inequalities visible in the contrast between the grand Victorian architecture of the merchant districts and the squalid slums of working neighborhoods. These conditions forged Glasgow's fierce working-class identity and made it a hotbed of labor organization and socialist politics, traditions that persist in the city's political culture today. The 20th century brought devastating decline. Global competition, changing technologies, and the collapse of the British Empire gutted Glasgow's traditional industries. Shipyards closed one after another. The last major one shut down in the early 2000s. Manufacturing collapsed. Unemployment soared. Vast areas of the city became derelict wastelands of abandoned factories and rotting infrastructure. By the 1970s and 1980s, Glasgow had become synonymous with urban decay, violence, and economic hopelessness, a far cry from its imperial glory days. What happened next represents one of modern urban history's most remarkable transformations. Glasgow reinvented itself as a cultural and service economy city. Abandoned industrial buildings were converted into museums, galleries, and apartments. The city invested heavily in the arts, winning the designation of European City of Culture in 1990, a recognition that would have seemed absurd just 2 decades earlier. Glasgow embraced its Victorian architectural heritage, cleaning and restoring buildings that had been blackened by industrial pollution. The city developed world-class museums like the Kelvingrove Art Gallery and the Riverside Museum, the latter designed by renowned architect Zaha Hadid. Today's Glasgow thrives on a diverse economy centered on financial services, higher education, tourism, retail, and creative industries. The city hosts 4 universities with over 130,000 students, creating a youthful energy that balances Glasgow's working-class traditions. The financial services sector employs tens of thousands in everything from banking to insurance. Tourism has become significant, with visitors drawn by Glasgow's Victorian architecture, outstanding museums, vibrant music scene, and reputation as one of Britain's best cities for shopping and nightlife. Glasgow, this is a city that rose from medieval obscurity to industrial supremacy, then crashed into post-industrial decline before reinventing itself as a cultural powerhouse and livable modern city. It's a place where stunning Victorian architecture tells stories of imperial wealth, where former shipyards are now museums and riverside apartments, and where working-class traditions coexist with contemporary creativity. Stirling. Stirling Castle sits atop a 250-foot crag, another of those volcanic plugs that dot Scotland's landscape, commanding views for miles in every direction. The River Forth loops through the broad valley below, historically impassable except at specific crossing points, the most important of which was at Stirling. For centuries, a simple geographical fact ruled Scottish military strategy. Whoever controlled Stirling controlled the main route between the Lowlands and Highlands, between Scotland's economic heartland and its warrior reservoir. Ancient chroniclers called Stirling the key to Scotland, and they meant it literally. Like a physical key, possession of Stirling unlocked control of the entire country. This strategic importance made Stirling a permanent battlefield. The area witnessed some of Scotland's most consequential military engagements. In 1297, William Wallace, the commoner-turned-military genius immortalized with substantial historical liberties in the film Braveheart, defeated a much larger English army at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Wallace's brilliant tactical use of the narrow bridge and the boggy ground turned English numerical superiority into a fatal disadvantage, demonstrating that Scotland could resist English conquest and inspiring a generation of resistance fighters. The actual bridge Wallace fought on is long gone, replaced by a stone bridge that still stands today, but the battlefield remains, and the Wallace Monument, a Victorian tower visible for miles, rises on Abbey Craig Hill, marking where Wallace supposedly watched the battle unfold. "17 years later, an even more decisive battle raged just outside Stirling at Bannockburn. In 1314, Robert the Bruce, Scotland's king, but with his realm under English occupation, staked everything on a defensive battle against Edward II's massive English army. Against formidable odds, Bruce's tactical genius and his soldiers' determination won a crushing victory that secured Scottish independence for generations and established Robert the Bruce as one of Scotland's greatest heroes. The Battle of Bannockburn remains so central to Scottish identity that its anniversary is still commemorated, and a state-of-the-art visitor centre now interprets the battle using cutting-edge technology that lets visitors virtually experience medieval warfare. Stirling Castle itself embodies this martial history while also showcasing Scotland's Renaissance aspirations. The current buildings primarily date from the 15th and 16th centuries, when Scottish monarchs transformed the medieval fortress into a magnificent Renaissance palace. James IV and James V invested enormous resources in Stirling, creating royal apartments that rivaled anything in France or England and demonstrated Scotland's cultural sophistication. Mary, Queen of Scots, was crowned here as an infant in 1543, beginning her tragic reign in this castle that had witnessed so many crownings and conflicts. The Great Hall, recently restored to something approaching its original splendor, gives visitors a sense of the majesty Scottish monarchs projected from this strategic perch. But Stirling is more than its castle and battles. The medieval old town clusters beneath the castle on the steep slopes of the crag, a labyrinth of narrow streets and historic buildings, including Argyll's Lodging, one of Scotland's finest 17th century townhouses, and the Church of the Holy Rood, where infant James VI was crowned in 1567 in Scotland's last ever Catholic coronation. These buildings and streets have changed remarkably little over centuries, allowing visitors to experience something close to what medieval and Renaissance Scots knew. Tourism forms a significant economic pillar, with Stirling Castle drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors annually and the Wallace Monument, Bannockburn Battlefield, and Old Town adding to the attraction. The University of Stirling, established in 1967 on a spectacular campus centered on a loch and surrounded by the Ochil Hills, contributes both educationally and economically, particularly strong in sports studies, aquaculture, and environmental research, fields that capitalize on Scotland's natural assets. Stirling feels transitional, suspended between lowland and highland Scotland, between medieval military fortress and modern university town, between tourist attraction and living community. The city hosts festivals celebrating both its history, with medieval reenactments and Wallace commemorations, and contemporary arts. The Highland-Lowland boundary is more than geographical. It's cultural, and Stirling sits precisely on this divide, giving the city a unique character that partakes of both identities without fully embracing either. Aberdeen. Aberdeen's geography shaped a maritime destiny. Positioned where the rivers Dee and Don meet the North Sea, the city developed twin harbours that became among Scotland's busiest ports. The surrounding land, the fertile agricultural region of Aberdeenshire, and the fishing grounds of the North Sea provided the raw materials for Aberdeen's early prosperity. But unlike Scotland's west coast cities that faced the Atlantic and the Americas, Aberdeen looked east toward Scandinavia and the Baltic, developing trading links that gave the city a subtly different cultural flavor, more Presbyterian, more mercantile, more international in an understated way. The city's history reaches back at least to medieval times, when Old Aberdeen developed around its cathedral and university, while New Aberdeen grew as a trading borough. The University of Aberdeen, founded in 1495, is Scotland's third oldest university, after St Andrews and Glasgow, and gave the city an early reputation for learning, particularly in divinity, medicine, and the sciences. Aberdeen's medieval and early modern history was relatively stable compared to places like Stirling or Edinburgh. No great battles were fought here, no dramatic political events centered on Aberdeen. Instead, the city developed as a prosperous trading center, its merchants growing wealthy from commerce in wool, fish, and granite. The granite defined Aberdeen's appearance and economy for centuries. The local Rubislaw quarry, once Europe's largest man-made hole, provided the beautiful grey stone that built not just Aberdeen, but contributed to building London, Edinburgh, and cities across Britain's empire. Aberdeen granite was prized for its hardness, durability, and attractive appearance. When polished, it achieves a lustrous finish that made it perfect for prestigious buildings. The granite industry employed thousands and exported Aberdeen's stone worldwide. Working this incredibly hard stone also required specialized skills, creating a workforce proud of their craftsmanship. But it was black gold, not grey stone, that truly transformed modern Aberdeen. In the late 1960s, oil was discovered beneath the North Sea, and Aberdeen, as the nearest major port to these offshore fields, became the industry's onshore headquarters. Almost overnight, Aberdeen transformed from a respectable but somewhat sleepy granite city into Europe's energy capital, the Houston of the North Sea. Oil companies established regional headquarters here. Service companies providing everything from drilling equipment to helicopter transport clustered in the city. Highly paid engineers, geologists, and oil workers flooded in, and money poured into Aberdeen's economy. The oil boom made Aberdeen Britain's wealthiest city per capita by some measures. Unemployment virtually disappeared. Property prices soared, restaurants, hotels, and shops thrived on oil money. The city built new suburbs, expanded its airport to handle increased traffic to offshore platforms, and developed infrastructure to support the industry. Aberdeen's population grew, and its culture became increasingly international as workers from across the globe came to participate in the oil boom. The harbour expanded to handle massive supply vessels, and helicopter bases ferried workers to platforms dotting the North Sea. Aberdeen's culture reflects its northeastern location and oil-influenced demographics. The local Doric dialect, a distinctive Scots variety, remains strong, giving Aberdeen's speech a unique flavour. The city's music scene has produced notable bands, and Aberdeen is something of a gourmet capital for Scotland, with more Michelin-starred restaurants per capita than anywhere else in the country, a legacy of oil money dining culture that has evolved into genuine culinary excellence. The city's festivals celebrate everything from its maritime heritage to contemporary arts. Aberdeen, this northeastern city built from granite and transformed by oil, represents Scottish resilience, adaptability, and independence. It's a place where maritime and energy industries created prosperity while also exposing the city to global economic forces beyond local control, where beautiful granite architecture reflects both a stoneworking heritage and the enduring nature Aberdonians prize, and where geographical isolation fostered a distinctive culture and accent. Dundee. Dundee's geography provided both opportunity and limitation. The city sits where the Tay, Scotland's longest river, widens into its Firth estuary, providing a natural harbour and transportation route into fertile agricultural hinterlands. Hills rise behind the city, offering defensible positions that made Dundee important in medieval conflicts. The climate is relatively mild by Scottish standards, and the surrounding region is agriculturally productive. Yet Dundee faced geographical challenges too. Positioned on the wrong coast for Atlantic trade, farther from the Scottish central belt than Edinburgh or Glasgow, and in the shadow of those larger cities. Medieval Dundee developed as a trading borough and port, prosperous but not particularly distinguished. The city's fortunes improved during Scotland's union with England as trade opportunities expanded. But Dundee's true transformation came with the Industrial Revolution and one unusual commodity: jute. This rough fiber from plants grown in Bengal seemed an unlikely foundation for urban prosperity, but Dundee's entrepreneurs recognized that the city's wet climate was perfect for processing jute, which requires moisture to remain workable, and cheap jute could substitute for more expensive materials in producing sacking, rope, and backing for linoleum. The jute industry exploded in mid-19th century Dundee. Mills sprang up along the riverfront and throughout the city, employing tens of thousands, predominantly women, who formed the majority of Dundee's mill workers. At its peak, Dundee dominated global jute manufacturing, processing fiber imported from India and exporting finished goods worldwide. The industry made fortunes for mill owners, the most famous being the Baxter and Cox families, but conditions for workers were harsh. Long hours, dangerous machinery, and low pay created a hardscrabble working-class culture. Jute, jam, and journalism became Dundee's defining trio. The jam referred to Kayler's marmalade, which claimed to have invented the British breakfast staple, a contested claim, but Kayler's was certainly among the earliest and largest producers. The journalism meant D.C. Thomson & Co., the publisher founded in the 1900s that produced newspapers and beloved comic publications like the Beano and the Dandy, which introduced characters like Dennis the Menace to generations of British children. These three industries, along with whaling, shipbuilding, and other enterprises, created a diverse industrial economy that made Dundee prosperous. Then came the crash. Foreign competition, particularly from India itself, decimated the jute industry. The last major jute mill closed in the 1960s. Shipbuilding collapsed. Traditional industries hemorrhaged jobs. Dundee's population actually shrank as workers migrated to find employment elsewhere, unusual for British cities in the post-war era. By the 1980s and 1990s, Dundee faced devastating unemployment, poverty, and all the social problems that accompany economic collapse. The city earned unfortunate distinctions: highest drug death rate in Europe at one point, areas of concentrated deprivation, and a general sense of hopelessness. Most dramatically, Dundee made culture and design central to its regeneration strategy. The waterfront, formerly industrial wasteland, underwent spectacular redevelopment. The centerpiece was the V&A Dundee, a branch of London's Victoria and Albert Museum dedicated to design. Opened in 2018, in a stunning building designed by Japanese architect Kengo Kuma, the V&A Dundee was the first design museum in the world outside London and became an instant landmark. Its dramatic geometric form, clad in horizontal stone panels, seems to rise from the Tay itself, creating an iconic image that announces Dundee's transformation. This cultural investment wasn't just about prestige. The strategy attracted creative businesses, improved Dundee's reputation, gave residents pride in their city, and drew tourists who previously had no reason to visit. The waterfront development included parks, walkways, the excellent Discovery Point Museum, built around RIS Discovery, the ship used in Antarctic exploration and built in Dundee, and new residential and commercial buildings. Suddenly, Dundee's waterfront transformed from decaying industrial relics into one of Scotland's most exciting urban spaces. Dundee's economy today balances these new industries with remaining traditional strengths. Life Sciences and Biotechnology cluster around the university and Ninewells Hospital, one of Europe's largest teaching hospitals. The gaming and digital sector employs hundreds in well-paid creative jobs. Tourism has grown significantly, yet Dundee remains a working-class city with significant challenges. Poverty persists in some areas, and the transformation hasn't reached everyone equally. The cultural scene punches far above Dundee's weight. The Scottish Dance Theatre is based here. The Dundee Rep Theatre maintains an excellent reputation. The city hosts festivals celebrating everything from literary culture to computer games. Dundee's music scene has produced notable bands, and the compact city centre creates an intimacy where creative communities can easily interact and collaborate. Dundee, this is a city that rose on unlikely industries, collapsed into post-industrial despair, then deliberately reinvented itself through cultural investment, educational excellence, and creative economy development. It's a place where a stunning design museum symbolizes transformation, where the ghosts of jute mills haunt buildings now occupied by biotechnology startups, and where working-class authenticity blends with creative class aspiration. We've journeyed through 6 remarkable Scottish cities, each with its own character, challenges, and triumphs. From Edinburgh's Georgian elegance to Glasgow's gritty renaissance, from Inverness's Highland gateway to Stirling's strategic perch, from Aberdeen's granite prosperity to Dundee's dramatic reinvention, these cities tell a larger story about resilience, adaptation, and identity. Here's my final question for you. Looking at your own life or community, what industry or pattern has declined or become obsolete, and what new cultural investment could help you reinvent and thrive? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these Scottish stories resonate with your own experiences. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Scotland's magnificent cities. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next adventure. Until we meet again, may your own journey be as rich and transformative as Scotland's urban stories.